All right, guys, I got a little last minute project going here in the garage. I hadn't put up a video in a little while, and I'm gonna try my hand at videoing a little bit of fabrication work. I'm not thinking it's gonna be too very detailed because I don't even know what direction I'm going right now, but let me show you what we got. All right, if anybody knows that much about rail buggies and off-roading, you know you need a skid pan. Well, I had a skid pan on this buggy for ever since I've had it built, but never really been that happy with the way it bent and was shaped around the motor. So as you can see from here, I have cut a perfectly good skid pan up. No problems with it. Just wasn't very happy with it, the way it looked and the ground clearance I got from it. So I'm gonna see if I can't build something that'll hug the motor just a little bit tighter, give me a little more ground clearance. Cause you can always use a little more ground clearance in off-road. So we got some old scrap bends and tubes and parts here, and come over here in the corner, and I got some new tubing. So I'm gonna see what we can't merge together. All right, guys, I'm out here right now still working on this skid pan project, just kind of getting started good on it. I'm wanting to reuse this bottom portion, so I'm out here doing a little grinding, trying to get some of the old material off of it, get the paint off of it so it'll weld good. So I'm gonna get back at the grinding here for a few more minutes, and I'll check back in with you shortly. All right, guys, after a lot of grinding, more than I really want to talk about and clean up, I've got this bottom section remounted because I'm gonna attempt to reuse it for this. I don't see why not. But now I've got to connect the dots. I need to go from here down to here. And not only just do it, I'm kind of picky, so it's going to have to look a certain way for me to be satisfied with it. So I'm going to try to bend up some tube and see what happens. Alright, guys, well, I'm going to give you an update on what's going on. I was attempting to use these pieces right here of used tubing that I already had, and not quite a 90-degree bend in them, but I took the time and cleaned them up, wire wheeled them off, got them all ready to go, and trimmed the edge off of it. And well, what do you know, just like any other fab project, didn't go just exactly as planned. It's got a little too much bend in it. So what I've opted to do now is just start fresh with some new tubing. Got my little Harbor Freight bender out. Nothing fancy in the shop. We're going to try to bend up a couple pieces here, get this thing going. I got me a couple bends made up. They're most definitely not cut to length yet. Getting a little closer. I'm pretty sure that's going to be something I can make work. I'll do a little measuring and marking. Be ready for a little welding. Alright. Well, I've shifted gears once again, guys. I took a day off yesterday and done a little fishing and thought about the project. And before, I was just going to connect from this tube down to here, but after looking at it and thinking about it, the tube has been cut right here before. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell. Where it's welded back, it's got a bulge in it, and it's just not that nice. Plus the width from the factory, I'm not sure why they done this, because this center tube has not been changed. The brackets doesn't line up, and I'm kind of weird like that. I don't really like it. And this tube's been cut. and it's just kind of ugly. So I think what I'm going to do is take the tubes that I cleaned up the other day that wouldn't work out for what I was looking at, and I'm going to use the bend in it to recreate this and maybe make it a little cleaner. And what I'm working on now is some new brackets, some new flanges for this. All I've done is taken some flat stock, traced out a pattern, and drilled a couple holes. It's not rocket science by no means. And we're going to try to take this tube all the way, we're going to remake from here all the way down to here now. So let's get, I got one made. I've got another one set up in the drill press to drill my holes. And we're going to do some drilling. Alright guys, I know this is probably not super interesting, but I've just got me some holes pre-drilled here in a smaller size to get me started, some pilot holes. I'm going to chuck it up here in the drill press a little bit and drill my final hole dimension. Go ahead and get that second one while we're here. Alright, and there you have it. A little homemade bracket, not perfect, but it's good enough for me. Alright guys, so I've skipped a couple steps ahead. I got my flanges made for both sides. And I went ahead and decided against putting this bend in the bar. Because I was just gonna have to use some pieces to piece it together and make it right. And I just decided I didn't want any more seams in this than I have to, because this takes a pretty good amount of abuse, because I can't drive. I hit a lot of stuff, so I just went ahead and made it angle down. I think it looks good and clean. It's away from my header. I don't know if you can see real good, but my old one was so close, I dented my header, which is not a big deal, but it could have been a lot worse than that. So now my next plan is I need to come in here and run me a tube from one side to the other here. It helps keep your spacing for your flanges apart, because like I say, this skid pan takes a lot of abuse and they'll twist and warp, and it just helps keep it straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut me a piece of tube for this right here and try to get this thing tacked in place. Alright, so guys, I went ahead and took me a measurement for the width that I need on the tube for the back of the row bar. It's 21 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this cut using my porta band. You can use anything to make these cuts. A die grinder with a cutting wheel works really well. And it's as easy as that. First cut don't have to be perfect. I left a little for trimming so I can notch the ends out to go in. Alright guys, got another step done here. Got my tube notch for my cross piece. Looks pretty good for me. I'm by far not a professional fabricator by any means. That's kind of why I'm not 100% telling everything how I've done it, because I know there's a lot of people out there that's better at this than I am. I just put my headphones on, my safety glasses, and cut and grind and pick at it till I'm satisfied with it. And guys, that's exactly what I suggest you guys do. Like I say, I've just got it laid in there right now. Let's get this thing tacked in, and I'll show you what we're gonna do to put sheeting on the bottom of it for the skid plate. Alright guys, went ahead and put a couple welds on this top cross piece. Sorry for not showing more of how I'm doing stuff, but one of my pet peeves is people that does videos of them welding, but they don't have a filter lens for their camera. So it hurts your eyes just as much as if you was standing there watching them, in my opinion. Of course, I've kind of got sensitive eyes from welding for a lot of years and different things, but I'm gonna let this cool down a bit and let it do its thing. Whether it warps or not, I don't know, we'll see. And then I'll take it off and we'll get on to finish welding what I've got going here. And then we'll put us a skid on the bottom of this thing. Alright guys, got the skid pan off. We got what I already had cut and tacked in place, welded up now, finished welded. Time to cut me a piece of steel for the rest of the skid, and pretty much all I done was laid it out here on the ground. Took an old Sharpie and rocked the skid pan back on top of it, and then just used my Sharpie to make a marker as I rocked it back forward. It's pretty generic, but an easy and effective way to do this, because hey, we're building skid pans, not rocket ships, right? Alright, now all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my old electric grinder with a cutoff wheel, and I'm gonna cut this dude out. Alright guys, well here it is. I've done a little more behind the scenes fab work on it. I went ahead and bent up me some head protectors for the side, the little things that looks like wings. I've got them all skinned, well, tack welded in. Getting ready to weld this thing up. Throw a little paint on it, and we'll see how it finishes up. right, guys. It's just a little final grind right there to knock off some of the whorlberries. Like I say, it's just rail buggy skid pan, so we're not getting real excited about it or overzealous on making it super nice. All right, let's get her cleaned up a little better, wipe down, throw some paint at it. Guys, there it is, finished skid pan. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. Got some more clearance around parts on my motor. I ended up with about a 1/2 inch more ground clearance, which don't sound like a lot, but any little bit helps. But most of all, I think it looks a lot better than it did. And in the end, that's all that really matters to me. Wasn't never really pleased with the way it looked before. So, glad to get this project taken care of. If you guys enjoyed this project and want to see more, just let me know. Leave a comment below and like and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.